Today is the morning of July 22nd, 2022, and I realize that I'm much more privileged than most because I've kept my faith for so many years. But when I had my daughter, I had relinquished that faith following the nonsense that my ex-husband was preaching to me about atheism. So I knew that he was not necessarily the best person, but sometimes I fall for people's words, and sometimes they do things for me that make me feel like they care. And in actuality, they're just toying with me or manipulating me, and I get that. I've understood that my whole life. So I knew I was an easy I wouldn't say target for that because that's a different, but yes, an easy target an easy victim for things. But then reading through some of the messages you guys send me and the random phone calls that you guys send to me and everything, I know I'm supposed to get a certain vibration from that, the alteration in my mind. And so this morning, of course, I was trying to see what I should do next. And I try to leave everything to God. Yes, I get confused by words of the devil, and yes, sometimes they seep into my brain, and that's what causes me to self-deprecate and to self-harm. So I don't like those. I know that the demons are still there, the demons, due to the fact that I can't I can't get other people to see their demons. I can't get other people to recognize where their faults are. So I try to convey that as best I can through my actions, through appropriating myself and not being a hypocrite. So, and I understand that, and somebody said something about Masonic symbolism and everything, and something about daggers. And I don't really read too much into all of that because I know it's true. And I feel sorry for those people because they use the words of God and they believe that they're hurting the right people. And in actuality, there's some people like me that are very God-fearing, that knew from the very beginning, that knew that people had approached her as a child, that knew that they were trying to help me. And I'm not retarded, they're everywhere. You are all everywhere. And I knew that from the railroad systems to the electrical workers union to everything. I knew who ran the United States. And in that way, not just the United States, but the world, globally. So I tried to be good. I tried to not dwell in the shame that I had for having fallen into been manipulated under the guise that I was going to be safe, or that these were things that were fun, that these were things that were normal. And then I realized too that fornicating before I was married, I had thought that I would just stay with the one person I had initially gone with, the boyfriend. I was very startled. I was very scared. I didn't want my brother or my father to violate me at an older age and have that memory of them being the first time of like that sanctity or whatever in that. And even though I didn't bleed the first time and the guy was just some guy from high school, like a grade or two older that had dated one of the girls in my class, I realized how shameful that was. I didn't go out seeking a bunch of it. And even with my boyfriends, like the one boyfriend I had in high school, we were together for a couple of years and we did it sparingly because I knew how primal it was. I knew how animalistic it was. I was on birth control then and realized how much it made me want to think about sex. So, somebody had made a stupid comment about, you should have known better, you're an adult, you should be on birth control. No, that's not my That's not my priority. If I would have had a loving home and everything, and I wouldn't have been on it, because then that way I wouldn't have had a need to. So I would have liked to have raised my daughter knowing that she had the right to her own body. And it's nobody else's goddamn business whether or not, we are, as females, on birth control. I understand how stupid men are. I get it, the pheromones, all of that, their crazy minds, the way they think. But I had always thought I would be protected by God and the godly people. And so when I would reach out, I knew that there were sometimes I would get random privileges that other people did not have, and that I got help in places that I didn't expect. So because I was devoted to my faith in that way, devoted to being a better person, devoted to not being a hypocrite or misusing or misguiding anybody, misusing the facts that I have, the information, and misguiding anyone into perceiving that doing the wrong thing is actually accurate, correct. You should never attempt to go down that road, like when people sell their children, like when people take hard drugs, and I know marijuana, they're like, oh, that's still a drug. Okay, yeah, I'm stressed. Okay, what do you want from me? It's either that or they're going to tell me I'm supposed to be on psychiatric medications, and that alters my brain in a really negative way and causes me to act out in ways animalistically that I would have never done. So, and I was hyped up, I was energetic in that way. I obviously have ADHD in some form. What are you going to do? Shove me on a bunch of, what is it called? I don't know, methamphetamine like that to see how I do? No, thank you. I don't need to be hyped up more. And even when that guy was offering it to me, I told him, I said, I don't think my body could handle that. I think I would have a heart attack because I know my body better than anybody else. That's how it's been. So, and I tried to tell people, please don't give me that stuff. Oh, it would be best for you if you did. No, I'm done listening to you crazy doctors. You're all crazy. I don't know what's wrong with you. I was seeking help. You saw crazy hair. That's unwanted. Okay. You saw an ugly face. Okay, that's unwanted. Okay, you saw someone that was trying to get their point across in a short amount of time so that they just started talking all manically and whatever, and you thought that it was manic. No, that's not it. It's my lack of socialization that causes me to speak like that, quickly, so that I can get my point across as best I can, but nobody listens anyway, because they're all in their own head about what they're going to have for lunch and what they're going to have to do for their children and what they're going to have to do for this and that, and they're not worried about their jobs, which your job, you're getting paid to maintain and care for other people. So if you got into the humanities and you're actually inhumane like that, you don't focus on the individual, you don't focus on their individual needs, knowing that I'm disabled, and people are like, you're not disabled. Yes, I'm pretty fucking sure I am. And if I weren't due to my PTSD and everything, it would be in regards to the medical issues that I have that I've not really tried to disclose to people because it's embarrassing, like the seizure thing that I have. And I've always suffered with panic attacks, whatever they are. That's what I call them, is panic attacks. They're not really seizures, because if I were seizuring, then I would be on the floor and I wouldn't be able to, I would be convulsing. So, but my muscles and everything is just a detachment. So I call them panic attacks and the detachment. And people don't realize that I go in and out of awareness, and I know how dangerous some of these individuals are that I've come in contact with. I know. But then I've always gotten away with comforting them in that moment and having them understand it's okay. I know that you want to hurt something yourself or someone else, but that's maybe not the right route to go, because then inevitably you're going to be in more pain. And they're like, oh, is that a threat? Some people, no, I'm not threatening you, but Lord knows I don't lie. So I would just be weary of some of the things that you do. And I know that people are like, oh, Christianity, whatever. That's just my symbol for my version of God, which I explained to one of the girls was like the universal code, the universal frequency of the positive and negative balance, which I call it, is not a he. Okay, so maybe we should regulate that so people get a little bit more involved with it, and they would understand better, and they would actually follow along. Oh, it's an it. Okay. They're not going to sit there and complain, oh, it's not based around men. It's, you know, it's always about men. No, it's about mankind. So back then we didn't have the translations for things, and we just called everything as a person, he, you know. And so, but yeah, I understand that there were, you know, we were very, you know, primitive finding out about this stuff, and then writing down these stories for everybody to get these symbolisms for and whatnot. These tales that had helped us through to understand symbolically to be a better person in your life, in everything that you do. So I try very hard, but when everything was taken away from me by crazy, that's when I just didn't understand, and I kept fighting back as best I could, and they kept forcing me with pharmaceuticals because they knew that I was right. They knew back then that I was correct. And so instead of dealing with the problem and owning up to their faults and what they had done wrong, because they thought that I was acting. They thought that I had played them, that I was trying to just, oh, you know, make up that she's so religious, make up that she's, you know, a good person and moral or whatever. I was, until I was tainted by the devil. And then that devil too, I mean, it stems from all the men that I've encountered. And I realized that I tried to be faithful and devout in that way. I tried to stay pure as best I could, knowing that I had already become impure by fornicating prior to marriage. And I know everybody's like, well, that's not true. In this day and age, it's still true. That's who runs this earth, are the people that actually abide by God's laws in that way. But they don't really abide by them because they're hypocritical. How could you sit there and harm innocent people when the words of the Lord tell us to be patient, loving, and kind? So I understand from everyone's perspective. I don't know why people can't. I think it's because they were so privileged and they were allotted these luxuries already, and they actually didn't have to live through something like this, where they're trying to get you to commit suicide. You know, the phone calls, the messages, they're trying to deplete your mental fortitude in that way. And also your physical. Like, I mean, I understand certain people try to sway you, and that is part of that devil's chain, and they're utilized as part of God in that way, to do their worst in order to make amends for the things that they had done, you know, different varying stages of their life. So, and I understand, and I'm very apologetic. That's why I did those motions when I was in and out of those psychiatric units. You saw me bowing to you. You knew that I was scared. And then all of a sudden, when I managed to heal myself in certain ways, I realized it wasn't me, and I shouldn't have to bow down to you. And I mean, you think that I do, but that's inaccurate. We're equals. So God lives inside of me. He does. And that's why I understand that neither bowing to one another, I mean, I understand to offer each other respect. Have I received that from you? Have you bowed to me? Have you offered me the scruff of your neck? No. But have I offered it to you? Yes. Many a time. And that's why you play with me. You toy with me. You've toyed with me for years. You wanted to see what I would do. You wanted to see how far I would take it. And I'll take it as far as God takes me. God knows, you know, how many times I've come in and out, and I didn't tell anybody about my attempts. I didn't tell anybody. I did it in the shadows, not seeking attention, seeking guidance from God, seeking that connectivity to the universe, going back to the flow of energy, the flow of nature. Which reminds me about the cicada that I saw just now on the ground. He was just chilling on the floor, but I knew they were running back and forth with the linen basket. And so I picked him up, and he decided to fly off into the trees. I said, "You're not safe here. That's no good." So, and hopefully he'll live another day instead of getting trampled by our dirty laundry. You know? That's so funny. I don't know. There's some people that say that I should write that novel and everything, and I say, I understand, but also the happy ending hasn't shown itself yet. So I couldn't disclose this properly until God offers the proper love, reciprocated love that I've been searching for my whole life. I know I get in trouble for offering too much love. When I left the bus stop, I was so overwhelmed about what I was doing, where I was going. I told the bus driver, "I love you, thank you." We were the only ones on the bus, mind you. So he knew that and he was like, "Oh," he was caught off guard. Like, "No, I just mean like, I love you as a human being. You're very kind." He helped me to understand where the hotel was, and he didn't have to do that. He didn't have to pay my nickel. He didn't have to do any of that. And it's just such a blessing to meet these individuals. And when I was sitting at the bus stop too, waiting, and Cece came up, and a beautiful woman. And then there was another gentleman that came up, and he was homeless, and he was missing teeth, and he was sleeping inside of the UAMS at one point. And I had wondered, why doesn't anybody take care of these people? Why doesn't anybody go off and try to help them, or help them to find these encampments that we could produce out of whatever abandoned buildings that we have everywhere? They're not necessarily unwanted by God. They're needed so that we can have that balance, so that we can see how fortunate we are in our daily lives, because if we didn't have that negative, we wouldn't have the positive. So when he was wandering around on the outside of UAMS, and he wandered over to the bus stop where we were sitting, and it started sprinkling, and there was no canopy for us to sit under. So, and one lady, beautiful woman, she was walking to the other direction, and she passed by me. She must have had like an Ethiopian accent or something, some type of accent like that, because she was obviously very smart to be working there, but she spoke proper English, but she had the influx in her voice, the accent. And she said, "Well, like, are you waiting for the bus?" And I was like, "Well, yes." And she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry that there's no canopy for you." I said, "It's okay." And I was getting sprinkled on, and I was all right. I was happy that I was heading to wherever I needed to head, wherever God sends me, so I can see what other people have to live through. I have to see to believe and to understand where everyone else stems from. So in order to appreciate my life and appreciate the hardships I've endured, so that I can share that with others and explain to them also how to function in certain situations like that. So they gave me a bus pass and a nickel, and I forgot to place it into the bin, the nickel, so that I could have a transfer. And then all of a sudden, anyway, back to meeting Cece and the man that wandered up. He wandered up, and I know my ADHD gets me off track, but whatever. The man, he was homeless, and then he pulled out, he was like, "Hey, do either of you ladies want anything to eat?" He said, I've got plenty of money. And I was like, "Oh, this poor guy, like he's so lonely, and I feel so sorry for him." And he was like very gentlemanlike. He wasn't doing anything. He wasn't getting aggressive. He had a piece of string on the outside of his wife beater, and which is the white tank tops that men wear underneath their clothes. So that's all he had on, and it was clean enough. He was clean enough, but his eyes were kind of glazed over and kind of looked like they were cataract style eyes. And he asked if he could sit, and Cece was standing near me, and and her belongings were on the bench, and I was sitting at the far end, sort of on, okay, if you're staring at the bench, I was on the left side, Then Cece was on the right side standing, and he came and sat between us. So when the man asked about the meal and everything, and Cece was very polite, she was very nice, and he sat down in between us, right next to me, and he had said he was talking to her mostly because he was very interested in her, and asked her age and asked her all these things about herself, and if she had a man, and if she, well, first of all, if she was married, and then she was like, oh no, I'm not married, but I'm seeing someone, and so that was nice. And I do that same line too all the time, even when I'm single, like, oh no, my fiance or my whatever, just as a protective measure in certain circumstances. So but yeah, he had mentioned, so he was talking, and then he got out a cigarillo, and he lit it up, and I told him, I said, well, I'm pregnant, and I don't know about the cigarette smoke. Oh, he said, oh, okay, no worries. So there was some stairs that were right next to the bench, and he went over and he sat down there out of courtesy, and it was very nice of him because, and he was still flirting with the lady. He was still, and and I mean, he wasn't a problem to me. Like, he didn't have any malice. He was looking for love, and he wasn't doing it in a vulgar way. So when he sat there and he was smoking and everything and still sort of trying to communicate with Cece, we got onto the bus, and he said he had watched her, and he said things like, you're my type of girl. And he said, I like those heavy set. And I was like, and I turned to her and I said, you're very voluptuous, very lovely. And like, I would never, it's like so weird. Like, why are men so crude and so stupid? But then when we got onto the bus, I told the bus driver, this was my first time, I didn't know, about the nickel, to give him that at first for a transfer. I didn't get that. But Cece helped me to understand, because I was sitting there at the park bench, and there was like a sign. And it said to text the number, but it didn't work. So I tried to look it up online to see what the route was or how long I was waiting. Because at first, when the people had told me about, the woman had told me where the bus stop was, she told me where the shuttle was, the shuttle bus. And so I went over there at first, and then that had a canopy over it, because generally it was a bunch of the workers shuttling over to their vehicles. So of course they're more important, yada yada, there's a ranking system instead of the general public, so we didn't have a canopy to protect us from the rain. And the ladies even said, they were like, oh, I'm sorry you have to go stand in the rain, because I asked them, I said, is this the bus that's the city bus? And so I pulled out my card so I could show them what I was talking about, and they were like, no, that's across the street there. And so it wasn't the place that the lady had informed me of, the nurse. So I would have been confused and sat there and gotten on the wrong bus and then missed the bus, because actually by the time I went and sat down and waited for the bus, it was approximately 7 p.m. and the bus came at maybe around 7:15, 7:16. So when the lady, Cece, had informed me, she was like, it's really good that you managed to get that last one out, because I had sat there, remember, and made my video. After I'd gotten out of the facility, I sat inside of UAMS. Well, then I knew that I was going to need food, and I knew I had a little bit of money, so I went over to the deli area so I could pick myself up that sandwich that I had to eat last night, and a couple of things of oatmeal, so that I could have that this morning. And then some waters, and also a tea, which I didn't need the tea, but I was super excited to just be free, so I just got the tea anyway, and that's what's sitting over there in the corner. So, yeah, and normally I don't like to have all that excess sugar, because it's not good for us. But I wanted something that was like a treat, and then by the time that I had realized how in danger I was, and not like... Anyway, I went to the bus stop, and they set me over across the way, and I sat there and I waited for the bus, and then I got on the bus, and Cece had told me it was the last run for the day, and I was really fortunate, because I was like, oh my God, like I could have missed the bus, but God sent me where I needed to go at that exact moment. So I sat there and waited, and Cece told me, you know, this is going to go to the like the transport center or whatever it was, like the, where the buses engage with one another so you can make your transfers. And so I went there, and then Cece helped me. She helped me on the sign to know, because I asked her, I said, do you know what I'm supposed to, how I'm supposed to figure out where I'm supposed to go? And she's like, well, what's the address to the place you're going? And I was like, well, it's this place. And she said, well, if that's there, she said, that's North Little Rock. And I said, oh, okay. Because I really don't know the difference when I'm in, like, you know, certain areas. I've never been there before. So I try not to keep track of too much because I've already got a lot on my plate already. Fuck it. Survival is enough. So, and I know you don't like it when I swear, and I should appropriate myself better, but stress causes that. How are you supposed to just regulate yourself when you have no support system? Absolutely none. Absolutely none. Like when they asked me, I told you in the video about them asking me about my information and how it was they were misinformed. They asked me, is your emergency contact still your mother? I said no, because the way she acts toward me, there's no reason for me to talk to her. If she's gonna allow my brother to violate my body like that, and violate my brother to, you know, allowing my brother when he was younger, my older brother. I remember telling her over the dishes, over the sink, I was so sad and depressed that my brother had eaten me out, and I was asleep to it and woke up to him eating me out. That was so traumatic. And so I told her about it, finally, after so many months of me hating on my brother and telling him, like, just stay away from me. And she was like, what's wrong? Why do you treat your brother that way? And then they punished me constantly, and I was like, I don't care. You don't understand, because I kept my mouth shut. And when I told her, please don't tell Daddy. Please don't tell him, you know, because I was really nervous. And what did she do? Went directly to my father and told him about it. So what did my father do? Just like you people, he blamed me. He told me that I led my brother on. I didn't. Why would I? Why would I be that disgusting? I wasn't an animal. I didn't do that kind of shit. I didn't walk around in shorts. I didn't walk around with tank tops on. I didn't walk around in slutty little outfits like these little whores that have sex with their brothers and whatever. You guys are sick. Like, that's really gross. I don't know. And I know some people get those ancestral thoughts and they believe that that's normal, natural, whatever. Okay, in the past, yes. Like, that's all we had, where it was whomever was near us. And that's who we fornicated with. Is it right? No, because the offspring ends up with a bunch of diseases and inbred and with all these, you know, disorders and whatnot, not just physically, but mentally. So, you people are fucking sick. And the fact that that happened to me and then I got in trouble for it, I feel like it's shamed me my whole life. My brother didn't say much. He was always trying to make amends for it, but then he didn't really, because when I went and moved down with him, I blame it on his coke usage. And then the one time he was sitting on the couch when I was approximately 16 years old, and we were talking, and he was saying he was sad. He was just so sad. He was never going to find anybody. And I said, no, cheer up. You know, it'll happen one of these days. And then he was like, no, you know, you don't understand. And he's sitting on the couch where my mother usually sat up in Briar Lane. And he pulled out his penis and started rubbing it. And I was like, ooh, I started laughing. I was like, are you serious? Like, that's gross. And he's like, why don't you come over here and touch it? And I was like, how about no? That's disgusting. Don't come anywhere near me. Like, that was so gross. I made sure to stay across the room from him. And then also, too, like, he knew better. He was, what, a year older than me. So he should have known better. But he didn't. He didn't learn his lesson. He never has. So when I ended up, and my mother says, no, he's always apologized. No. He's never learned his lesson. He's an animal. He should be one of those, that should be mistreated like I've been mistreated. So when I moved down there too, I was approximately 20 years old, 19, yeah, I guess it was 20. And I was forced to live with him and my younger brother, Israel, the one that's never really done anything wrong. He's done drugs and stuff, but you can't blame him for that. I mean, he's just been a very, being a virgin this long and everything, he's a good person deep down, like even if he didn't, even surface value, he's a good person. Like he just keeps his mind to himself and he doesn't bother with anybody, and he just, when he says some things, it's kind of whoa. But he's very, I guess, enlightened in that way. So that's why he doesn't push himself off onto people, because he understands his value, and that is sad. And I'm like, but you're worth so much more in my eyes and in God's eyes, And so my older brother, this motherfucker, I moved down there in a Hot Springs, and from Wisconsin, thinking my mom told me I could move in with her and that I'd have a safe place. So I went there only because of that. And then I moved in with my brother, and I get out of the shower one day and he's sifting through my panty drawer. And I'm thinking, are you that fucking sick? And people are like, why do you get off on your tangents? Why do you have to talk about everything? Because it's going through my mind. Why can't I? Is there a problem with that? You allowed this shit. None of my business. You didn't call CPS when I tried to commit suicide at the age of 12. So things got progressively worse. And what would CPS have done? Nothing but reprimand me generally. Force me to have therapy like I did. Force me on medications. And then they would have also asked the family if it were true. They lied, as they always did. They never got reprimanded. They never got forced to have to sit and comply. They never had to be forced into therapy. They never had to be forced to change. Maybe because they're going to always be animals. Maybe because there's no salvation for them. So, anyway, and my dad, he stopped touching me after a certain point, so I gave him some respect because of that, because I didn't catch him outside my window anymore. He would stand there for hours, staring into my window, in the shadows, thinking I didn't see him. The same thing with my brother. And it's kind of like you creeps. You're always watching me. You think I don't know that when I'm naked and stuff in confined areas that you don't have access to video of something? Surveillance of some kind? You should have protected me. You should have known. I thought I was one of your daughters. I thought I was God's daughter in that way. Why should I have to reprimand you people? There's no reason for that. This tastes pretty good. So, yeah, I'm very discouraged at what I'm supposed to do next. I don't know what's going on. And I know I had to learn through certain things and have to see and witness and be horrified by a lot. So back to the story where Cece was helping me get the bus. And she ended up looking at the map for me, and she talked to one of the people. I don't know if it was a supervisor or a bus driver, but he was very helpful, and they knew I was really kind of not all there, to have been able to use these things on my own, which I was never taught, and I never had seen it in any kind of movies or anything. And I realized that my vehicle was a huge privilege, so that's why I just try to maintain it even on my own. And I didn't want to lose my car, because I knew that was my freedom of not having to interact with some of the people that were having to take or utilize these public systems. Because the public systems, even with school and everything like that, and the transport system, all of that stuff, a majority, 99% of the people that were taking the bus yesterday in the evening were, and I hate to call out ethnicities like that, because I have very much respect for people individually, but they were all black. And I thought, oh my God, these people never got the allotments in life that they should have had, And that's why they're still struggling to this day. And they're being ruled over by these white people that think they're okay, but really they're inbred. And I'm like, oh my God, are you okay? Like, are you okay? People, like all of you, are you okay? Do you not see what you've done? Do you not see the separation that you've made and these different, segregations that are still going on? I was horrified. So yeah, I discussed the things that go on in my mind. How much I would wish to give back to some of these individuals because they didn't have the proper information, guidance, any of that to have known. And that's why I'm really grateful to even like the movies that come out, like Tyler Perry movies. One of them was playing, I didn't get to watch, and I really wish I could have sat there and watched it because it helps us all to understand we all have the capability of being just like those upperclassmen. And we don't need to take shit from them. We really don't. And that's why I don't take shit from you. I do, but I don't. And so I'm just like, whatever, because I still just shrug it off, don't I? I know you're gonna be crazy regardless. And I know it's hard for like you guys to watch me all the time because there I am eating. I'm looking all gross. Look at my hair. Look at this. It's not about the aesthetics. It's not also about what I'm doing. It's about the grander scheme of things. What is the message I'm trying to convey? Peace, love, hope, faith. I don't know what to tell you. So, and I'm trying, and I have to be vulgar for you to understand what you're doing to me because that's how it is. Like what people have to cuss at others. No. Just no. So, and that's why I talk to you even during my breakfast because I figure I have nobody. I'm talking to myself. And yeah, it's interfering with me finishing my meal because I have another cup I want to eat because I want to make sure I get enough calories this morning to withstand any type of walking I might have to do or whatever while I'm pregnant. So I thought a little bit ahead because fortunately I didn't try that ice and I cracked the window. He had the windows right up and then he did it in the car with me and I was like, man, I'm just crazy. Offering a pregnant woman, big old pregnant woman too. Fucking crazy. But of course, I just look like a crack whore to everyone, including the father to this child. So that's sad. Why don't you go play with your little crack whores and your little nasty confined space in the mind of whatever fucking perverse circus act you have going on in there. So anyway, and I try to be really nice about these things because I'm like, okay, they're just suffering through mental illness, but nobody sees it yet. Nobody sees what true mental illness is. And that's some of these people that come out of the military all jacked up, or these people that are in higher positions like the doctors and everything that go around telling people, yeah, we'll help you. No, you didn't help me. You just hurt me more. Injecting me with certain additives that you didn't research properly, you'd never take yourself, but you'd inject it in someone else. You're fucked. You're fucked. That's funny. I would never recommend that to people. I tell them, don't do that. It's got additives in there. It's got metallics in it, blah, blah, blah. It's going to hurt you. I'm really warm. Don't mind me. No, I don't like exposing my body that much. It's disgusting. It's really disturbing. I never wore stuff like this, like out and about. I never wore just like tank tops all crazy. I never wore shorts. And now I figure in this day and age, since everybody's acting like primitive beasts, then I might as well do it too. You know, why not? And it's not like I do things nearly as bad as some others. And to see the girls in their spaghetti strap dresses in church and everything with their backs exposed and presuming that that's okay because they're Catholic and they've got their husband with their big $1,000 of value rings and everything. Good for you, crazy whore. That's what you are because you're over there exposing yourself. You couldn't even put on a cardigan. Bitch, please. So, anyway, and you got this little baby running around sneezing in the Bibles and shit. Gross. Fucking disturbed. Oh, but we're still part of the same family. The God family. Being that you're rich and I'm poor, you get away with more. So, Who am I to say anything? Who am I to say anything? I'm ugly. I have nothing. I come from no one but God. So, yeah. So I understand that this baby is a blessing. I understood that from the moment I knew he was there. That I solidified knowing he was there, mind you. Because I already knew he was fucking there. There was something wrong, and I knew it. And I was going all hormonal and crazy. Oh, I'll get back to that. We'll get back. Okay, no, we'll finish the story first. Because I know this is crazy. I know I'm always jumping around. It's just my mind. I'm tired sometimes. I'm exhausted from having to deal with trash people. Cece wasn't trash though. She was so nice to me and she helped me, and so I got on the right bus and everything. And I gave her I asked her if, a hug. And she even gave me her number so I could text her to let her know that I made it safely. And by the time I got in here, it was already 11 o'clock at night. And I told her, I texted her, I was like, you don't need to message back, but I just wanted to let you know how grateful I am to you and how much of a godsend you are and a blessing and an angel, because I wouldn't have been able to process that. I went inside to go talk to the people. They didn't come out of their office. And they refused to talk to me at the bus station so I could ask questions about that stuff. So maybe if they had somebody on hand, then it wouldn't be so hard for me to have understood. And of course, since I was white, they always have a bias because they're like, oh, white people, they get more privileges than us. And I mean, yeah, it has happened. I'm not going to denounce that, but I'm not trying to be all like pity party to them. Don't mistreat me because I got more at some instances than you did. And people are like, you didn't try. No, their ancestors were just not allotted that much because you were fucking them and having kids with them and enslaving them and having them pick that goddamn cotton. So I think I was done with that story, but I was really upset that the people didn't ask, I couldn't ask any questions at the bus depot or whatever. So and to ask, but then Cece opened up. She had to help me because nobody would have listened to me. I was of a different, like even my race and everything. Who's going to sit there and help this little white girl? She looks crazy. We don't know if she's lying about that nickel, but Cece got them to understand. And I was really, really grateful for that because sometimes we need that sort of translation for others. Like this girl is just, she got out of the hospital, she needs some help, and there was 99% of a different race, and so here I am like wondering what to do, and she got me situated perfectly, and I couldn't thank her enough. And I hope all the best for her, all the best, because I just wouldn't. She did it out of the kindness of her heart. She didn't like do it just to get anything out of it. She just did it because she knew I was scared. She knew, even though I didn't show it, and I was just smiling and But yeah, so when, back to the other story too, about, no. What was I talking about? I knew it was leading to my dream that I just had. So I asked this guy I knew that the baby was there. I knew that he was there, but I couldn't necessarily tell that he was there because there wasn't anything, and I was freaked out and everything, and that's what caused me to fornicate with 2 different people afterward because I was seeking some type of comfort after being violated. And one of those guys who could actually be a character witness for me to know that I had told him immediately when we first met that I had been violated. So he messaged me back. He's former military, You know that. And, but he was honorably discharged, I guess, or so he said. And he's a nice person. His name is Drew. You know what I'm talking about. There's no reason for me to even take paperwork up to your stupid court up in Bentonville. You know what the fuck you're doing, and you know exactly, precisely where I was and how exactly I got these papers, but you want to do it visually for everyone else, as if it's something I care about. No, you know what the fuck is going on. You know I have plenty of records stating I'm not a fucking whore. I mean, I was and I wasn't. You know how it is. But, anywho, and how I'm supposed to just drop it and just be like, oh no, she's gonna get reprimanded. No, bitch. If I end up on fucking probation, I swear to God, I'm gonna burn something down. Fucking try me. So, but yeah, and then you wonder why I have react. No, bitch. Like terroristic threatening. Terrorist my fucking ass. So you're terrorizing me. That's terroristic. So anyway, Drew, he gave me $100 for the hotel and everything. Unfortunately, I found this one, which I got bit up in the middle of the night. There's bed bugs in here. So yeah, I hate these places, these little rundown motels. They're really gross. I get all they bit up and everything. I'm gonna end up with disease. It's, excuse me. So, but yeah, then Drew, he offered to give me a ride, so I don't know what I'm doing this morning, how I'm gonna get to my vehicle and whatever, and how I'm supposed to sustain myself. He said I couldn't stay with him again this time. He let me stay with him for a couple of weeks, but he knows. I told him immediately when we met that I wasn't feeling well, and that's the only reason why we had sex, was because I had been forced upon. And he knew that from the beginning, though. Like I told him when we first met, I wasn't feeling well. I wasn't really trying to date, that I was just, you know, going about because I knew something was weird. My guts were bubbling and stuff, and I thought, that's not my guts. That's lower than my guts. Something's weird. And then I was super hungry immediately. During the first few weeks, I'd gained like 7 pounds at the very least. I noticed on the record, it said when I went to the doctor on December the 22nd that I was 167 pounds. I had gotten down to like 155. So even if it fluctuated up to 160, I'd gained at least 7 pounds during that time. So 5 to 7 pounds. And so yeah, I knew that I was like doing well on my own and everything, and I guess that's why you guys had to stop me. You had to make sure that something happened in some way or another to disrupt my journey, my personal journey, God's journey within me and everything. So you had to send Satan. And I get that. I understand that. I'm not naive to that fact. But Drew knows, and Drew would be a great character witness in that. And then if it comes down to it, you're going to try to say, well, we couldn't contact, blah, blah, bullshit. Bullshit. You're not putting in effort because you want to make sure that I end up reprimanded for nothing. Because you don't want your precious fucking dicks fucked with or sliced off. So why should I have to be the one that ends up without any fucking disability check, when in actuality, that's all I can do to survive right now. And it's all I have been able to do to survive in the last 6, 7 years. So don't. Just don't, unless you want God to come after you, like, and, you know, his connections to the devil, to send all those demons after you. I would, like I said, tuck your dicks between your legs, because you don't have any tails anymore. Those have dropped off, right? So, yeah. So he had mentioned, and then he said he had family over, so I can't stay with him. And I had a dream. I guess it was with him in the dream. And this person and I, well, first of all, I was in this home, and it was like a psychologist's home, but it was a female. And I was walking through, and she had like all this white linens everywhere, and it was very clean. And I remember mentioning something about well, it wasn't this clean before. And so why is it so clean now? And so I don't really remember what that was about. But then by the time the rest of the dream had come, and there was different people there as well, and then I went into this other room area where there was a big bed, and I was staying there, and this man, I guess I loved him, but it wasn't really like love, I could tell. And it kind of looked like Drew, I guess, like kind of looked like him, like and this man, we started to do it, and when he had climbed up on top of me, I remember that I was just doing it out of my love for him, not for the love of what we were doing, and it wasn't even like true love, I could tell. It wasn't the love that I had with like my first marriage, where I was completely just devoted to my ex-husband. And everyone said that was crazy, that I was, what's the word? What was the word? That I was like consumed with him, whatever, mentally. And that I was just, obsessed with him. And I'm like, no, it has nothing to do with, we were married and we had a child, and I'd always presumed that the children were supposed to stay with their parents, and that it was okay, like you work through things and that's how it goes. But then when I got my divorce and everything too, I was so ashamed, and I thought it was all my fault. And he tried to tell everyone that it was because I was cheating and everything too, when in actuality he was cheating long before I was. So I don't understand. I don't understand. I warned him. I said, do you want me to go and cheat? Do you, is that how you want to play this? And he just didn't say anything. He never stood up for it. He never said no. He didn't love me. He had never loved me. He was using me. And then when we were forced to have a child together, he was like, there was no actual love, I guess. He was off doing whatever he wanted. He went to his concerts. He left me alone breastfeeding the baby, Even when he got a job, he made it out to be like I was harassing him at work. And no, there was something wrong. I knew that. I could tell there was something wrong. So, and even if it were a slight bit of postpartum in that way, but it wasn't postpartum like toward my child, it was postpartum toward the circumstance. My daughter was always my favorite person in the world. And she just was just the cutest thing to me. I can't believe she came out of my body. I was so enamored by just the sight of her, the smell of her, just everything. I was just so infatuated. And then she was ripped away because everyone said that I didn't place any effort into her, that I was the toxic one, that I was the abuser. And no, you need to take some hair follicles from those people and know what kind of crack addicts they are. And I told everyone too, inevitably they're going to find out. Inevitably they're going to know that it wasn't me. But of course the state of Arkansas took my words and took their words and realized, oh, she's talking crazy. No, I'm not. I'm talking about something that is well above your pay grade, So you're not paid to situate and fix the situations. You're paid to go get your dick sucked by women that you just arrested their husband and went and locked him up. That's pretty fucked up. That's pretty fucked up. He was on the clock when that happened. There's no reason for that. And he had a wife or whatever and kids and everything. And I hope destruction to him and his family for what had happened. And that's sad, because why would I have to do that? Why would I have to be the one to deal with that? And they're like, you let him. I didn't lead anybody on. He was in my home. His power of authority was scaring me. I went with it because I thought he was being flirtatious. He was single, he told me, and all this stuff. It wasn't that I was trying to go from one dick to another, no. And even at that time, I was on a bunch of psychiatric meds. So, because my daughter was, after a certain point of not breastfeeding, they forced me on it because everyone physically assaulted me. I'm sorry, no. Get your priorities in check. Go after the people that are actual violent criminals, and then we wouldn't have these issues. Then you wouldn't have backtalkers like me going around telling you what's what and how it's going to go from now on. Because I'm not going to take your shit. And that's why I went around and I left reviews everywhere, and even left reviews for my father and my brother, and just so that they understood where I'm coming from. You're fucked. So, unless you make amends. And I know my father was trying to, even with him trying to stabilize me and support me financially right now when I was with my mom. But what happened with the money? I mean, my mom said she only got a certain allotment of it, and she's always been really greedy with the money because she has to make sure that she has enough for herself to sustain herself. And I get that she's paid my bond. I get that. Does that mean that I was going to let her go without? No. That's why I was trying to find any resource I could, like the monetization on the YouTube, to offer back to her. And that was the first thing on my mind, was giving back to her, as opposed to trying to salvage the things that I had allowed to crumble, to erode around me, like my payments to my vehicle, like my payments to my car insurance. They're too much. It's too much money. I don't know why you guys are crazy. When I went and removed that extended warranty, they told me they were going to drop the payment. They told me at that time when it would drop off that the payment would lower itself by $90. And they lied. Everyone just lies about everything. Because when I went back and I asked them about it, they were like, and when I was on psych meds, I knew, well, maybe I was wrong about that. Maybe I didn't, whatever. Can you imagine the type of disgusting stuff on this headboard? I'm literally rubbing my feet all over it. That's disgusting. People put their heads on there. They put all kinds of their hands when they're sleeping, and they're all gross. Like the girl that I was telling you about, the surrogate mom inside of the psych ward, and I know she was doing it out of the kindness of her heart, kept touching everybody's things. At one point, she tried to touch the salad there, to move it 2 inches to hand it to me, just because she was standing there. Like she felt like she needed to mother everything. Well, because your children were taken from you. Now you're crazy because you took the money and you didn't appropriate your life to try to have these children on your own. Now you got the crazy mom hormone in there, and you're going around touching everything with her filthy hands. They don't wash under their nails. Regardless of you telling people to wash their hands, they don't wash under their nails. And that's where all the bacteria is harbored. And that's why I was telling you about me sniffing my nails to make sure there was nothing underneath it. It's always these ring fingers though too. They're the best ones for me to figure out if my hands are clean enough. So, because if I've gone a distance or whatever. Like I had just started eating some of my sandwich in the guy's car last night. I was hungry. I was over it. I just smoked. Which reminds me, I gotta go get a lighter by the time I go do anything. I have no idea where I'm going or what I'm doing right now. I'm just like, leave it to God. That's funny. So, but yeah, I'm grossed out. Everything is gross. Can I just have my own home? And then have lots of money to help other people. That's all I can think about. Because writing this down would be amazing. Because I am a pretty good writer. And I am a pretty good artist. And I could also do, I wanted to do children's books to help people. And so, but no, I never have a safe place to just work on my goals, my life's works. And instead, I've got to still go through all this trauma, go through more and more and more until I try to commit suicide again, which I don't want to do. I'm trying to be better. I'm trying to understand why you keep doing this to me. But I don't see a very good outcome. You guys are acting crazy. And you guys act like I'm the problem because I swear, because I smoke weed, because I've fornicated in the past, when in actuality it's wouldn't that be a great story to help people alter their reality so that they understand, oh shit, maybe I shouldn't do that stuff because it is going to lead me down a really dark path. But if I choose this path, then I'll be enlightened. If I choose this path, I'll have better things happen to me. And that's why I always get blessed here and there, randomly. Who knew that doing the right thing would cause benefits around you or positive reactions? But still, I get all these negative responses because they're demons inside of everyone else. And that's the hardship for me, is like trying to figure out why people are doing these things. And I just try to help everyone. I don't know what it is. I don't know why. I guess it's because my daughter was ripped away from me. And I had to realize that there was more to life than that. I forgot to tell you too that in the dream that I had of her, at the very end, she was a tiny little, like, fetus style version of herself. And she just gasped and died. And I don't know what else to say. That abortion marked me, but it wasn't me. I didn't do it. I wasn't the one that chose to do that. It was the other guy, and he ran away over to Europe, and you know exactly where he is at this very moment, I know. So, I wonder what life would have been like had I kept that baby. But he told me he didn't want to support it and everything. And then I was scared. I didn't know what to do. I was still in the midst of growing up and coming out of my own traumas. And he told me we would still be together. And he still fucked me afterward. And then that secondary baby that didn't have a heartbeat. And then I was like, oh my God, like I'm such a whore. Like I'm such a fucking tramp. And everybody's gonna always treat me like that. Knock on wood. So hopefully that won't happen anymore. Hopefully people will realize what it's like, and also to stop reprimanding people that don't have access to the proper information and access to the proper bloodlines and access to the proper, you know, material to be above and beyond. You're funny. You guys are so funny. And then I just laugh. Because you know I've been in those situations and I just end up laughing. I don't know. I just don't know. So anyway, people thought I was crazy. They thought that I didn't know what I was talking about. They thought that I didn't know who was truly running the world. Okay. Okay. That's why I started making videos for you. It wasn't for the general public. It was for you to understand that you need to also repent. Everyone tells me to. And I'm like, well, haven't I displayed a lot of repentance so far? Have I not displayed that I am kind and courteous to all of those, as opposed to you? Interesting. Who is more godly? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I just like to be silly. I mean, if I could find a suitable way of relaxing and everything, I probably wouldn't cuss so much. More than likely I wouldn't. And then more than likely I wouldn't smoke so much either. And maybe even learn to go without so that I could travel and everything in the countries that don't allow it. So, I mean, I know, but it's just so much stress. I know this baby, he's been toxified by the marijuana, and somebody said, what was the blunt laced with? I hope it wasn't laced. I hope the weed that I smoked wasn't laced, because it seemed fine to me. I wasn't all hyped up and I wasn't all crazy, but I was actually relaxed and I did well. He took the rest of it though. I only got a blunt out of it for $40. Someone give me money. Somebody give me my card so I can get some weed. What's wrong with you? I've been asking for weeks and you just want to like negate my needs. And I'm trying. You just want to shove me in someplace and think that's going to make it better. It's not. And then he's going to end up hurt because I'm angry. So, yeah. Clicking my heels again because it's what I do. It's what I do. Anyway, I hope everybody's having a blessed morning. Today's July 22nd, 2022. My birthday is in less than a week. I've got to make it through the weekend, and hopefully it won't put me in jail before I have to go in front of the judge. And I don't even want to go in front of the judge. I shouldn't have to. I know everybody's like, oh, you got to, because it's part of procedure, it's part of regulation, it's part of us reprimanding you. But if there's a revoked bond, no. No. I didn't do shit wrong, and I didn't contact him or anything, and it's not my fault. That shit's public knowledge. It's not my fault and my emotions toward it, and you're not going to tell me I can't have these emotions and aggravated blah, 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 verbal aggression toward the father. Like, he left me for dead. Do you not understand that I gave him a fucking week? I gave him 7 days. The earth was created in that time, right? I gave him 7 fucking days to fucking own up to what he had done, and he did not. So, in my mind, God's time, 7 days is enough. Enough is enough. I had to rest. I had to place that to rest. And even then, I'm still not at rest fully because he's inside of me. The fucking DNA is there. And you know damn well who's the fucking father by now. I'm not crazy. You have all the blood work. You have all this and that from me. You like I don't know about the advances in fucking technology and science. Ugh, you people are sick. So anyway, yeah, there's a lot of anyways in there. I wish I could go swimming. I wish I had my swimsuit, but I don't have any of my stuff, and I'm scared, and I don't want to go back to my mom's house because I know that she's just gonna fucking, and then if the cops are called and everything, and if they're not nice this time, and they try to put me in jail, please God don't, please God don't. I know that the people at the Garland County are so nice sometimes, but no, please, please. I don't want to go to jail all weekend. I like being able to get access to videos and kitty videos and all this stuff that makes me happy. If you just keep abusing this child, then I feel sorry for you people. Huh. You're going to end up with a psychopath on your hands, and I'm sure that's what you wanted. Fuck you. Oh my God. I'm trying to be nice. I can't be nice. You're not being nice. You're not playing by the rules. God's rules. And I told you about taking my baby, my Tootsie. That's not godly. That's completely unjustifiable. You took the money, that's what you did, and now you're cursed. So true. Here we are. Fuck you. There's no one that should be calling me. Not even the front desk. Have a blessed day, everybody. July 22nd, 2022. Leticia calling Servin.